Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Astral. Just want to give a little recap of the last week or so. Last few days, there's been some pretty big events and interviews that have dropped. Been out of it a little bit because of the Psy Games, so I'm just coming back from the Psy Games. Going to do a review here in just the next few days on the Psy Games and my thoughts and my experiences and stuff. I had a lot of fun. It was a cool event, so got to hang out with a lot of friends and talk with some people in the field in parapsychology about some of the ideas that I've had, some of the things that we've worked on before, coming back to. So I'll do a little bit more on that, but wanted to bring up really the biggest event that I think has happened is that Robert Bigelow, the former owner of Skinwalker Ranch and, aerospace business entrepreneur, recently came out with his own podcast. So he started his own podcast. So this wasn't just an interview. This was his own podcast that he did. And his first interview was with George Knapp. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a stable podcast where both of these guys are going to be talking and having guests as well, or if George Knapp was just the first guest on it. What is interesting is that Jeremy Corbell has not commented on this yet. So I'm not sure if Knapp and Bigelow have started their own venture together, other than Weaponized, because I know they've been together for a while. George Knapp and Corbell have on Weaponized. So maybe interesting development there. Seems like everybody's cool, though. I don't think it'd be like that. But, with recent activity and what's going on in the UFO community and everything, beefing might be just going on all around where people are now going at it. Hopefully not. I don't want to see that. I think, it's a pretty good duo, to be honest. It's entertaining. But I want to play just the preview and the kind of initial story, and then we'll talk into the fact that we might have heard this before. So I'll go ahead and start.
Stuff. Robert Bigelow has spent more than 40 years and tens of millions of his own dollars digging into UFOs and possible non-human intelligence interacting with humanity. He thinks the time has come for some sort of formal disclosure, and that Trump is the guy to do it. Coincidentally or not, in the 5 months since their White House meeting, the government has started releasing piles of UFO-related information.
And disclosure was one of the topics. And so when I was ready, I asked to see him. And so February the 6th, I was in the Oval Office with the president.
Las Vegas tycoon Robert Bigelow has known Donald Trump for years, has donated millions to Trump's campaigns, and knew he'd get a formal sit-down at some point, but didn't know how much time he'd have to make his pitch. It turned out to be 75 minutes, a hefty chunk. Bigelow says a presidential aide cleared off the Resolute desk. Bigelow plopped down 7 reports on 7 subjects and jumped right into UFO disclosure.
I was emphasizing that the disclosure process, starting with confirmation, is a big deal. That really is important for somebody like the President of the United States to say, yeah, they're real, they're here, and eliminate all the other nonsense, all the noise that's been going on for 80 years.
You go into it with an idea of not just things in the sky floating around, some mystery. We've got the goods. Somewhere there are crashes. Do you tell them that there are bodies, that there are crash retrieval vehicles of unknown origin, or how specific do you get on that?
I focused on him and how to prepare himself if he's not already prepared.
Bigelow declines to repeat anything the president said in response, not even gestures or facial expressions. The report he wrote for Trump included recaps of some notable, well-documented UFO incidents and cases, along with specific comments that could be shared with the public, including a suggestion that it be delivered in one of the quick exchanges the president has with reporters aboard Air Force One.
And this is what I want you to say, Mr. President. A non-human intelligent presence has been on Earth for a very long time, using spacecraft and with performances completely beyond our capabilities and our human physics. And that's it, to say nothing else.
That would be pretty wild for him to say. I just wanted to pause it there just to kind of recap. and gave the summary of the story. So Bigelow was actually able to get a meeting in the Oval Office with Trump. And he made it a point to make it about 7 topics. The first and probably the most important that he was trying to relay was UFO presence and disclosure and UAP disclosure that's going on. So in the beginning, it says he had 75 minutes, and I think it was later revealed that he only really got 11 minutes with Trump. So he only was able to get one-on-one time, actually maybe speaking with Trump for 11 minutes, and that he wasn't able to say anything publicly about Trump's response. So whatever Trump said in response to that was interesting, but it goes to this speech, okay? This speech, it's not even, I wouldn't even say it's a speech, it's more of like a statement that Bigelow says and how he would deliver it going into Air Force One and sort of like spur of the moment and reveal alien life. So I'm not sure how long people have been following this story, but Trump's speech has been hinted at for some time now. And first I'll go with Greer. Greer has insinuated that he has written a speech for Trump, but I don't know if that has actually gotten to Trump. He has passed it on through supposed contacts, and he's written it out. He's released that publicly, but he says it's delivered. Greer does. I take that for whatever it is. So I'm not sure if he's actually seen the speech by Greer, but this is a different avenue where Bigelow is directly telling Trump about what he should say to the public, which I think is pretty interesting. Now, if all of this sounds familiar with Bigelow and Trump and making a speech, it's because it's been out in the community for some time. And I want to just highlight over here on my page someone named Mark Christopher Lee, who has been talking about this for a while now. He's been saying that Trump is going to make a speech, and actually revealed that his source was Robert Bigelow for that. And he even shares this email in which he's talking about, I guess, getting transparency from his influence. He doesn't mention Trump in this text message or email. It looks like an email that was sent, but there were multiple posts here earlier this year in March where Mark Christopher Lee was saying that Robert Bigelow was the source of this and that he had a Washington insider. I don't know exactly if he met with Trump. He might have said that he met with Trump, and he talks about this disclosure speech. And so one of the things that I think it was kind of messed up is this was noted by the community. So this was like noted. And the reason why is George Knapp. George Knapp now is the one who's just in that podcast talking with Bigelow about this story and basically breaking the story on news, chimes in here from Mark Christopher Lee, his post, and says, this is bullshit. I spoke with Robert Bigelow less than 30 minutes ago. So he calls Bigelow up and is like, hey, this thing about Trump making a speech and on a certain day and you're the source and all that. And Bigelow denies it. And he says he has never met, spoken to, or emailed Mr. Lee. Anyone who knows Mr. B is aware he would never share private sensitive info with some random UFO guy in a foreign country. It's not only false, but it's preposterous. And that left it at that. That it was done. It was like done. Like, we don't even need to talk about this no more. He called Bigelow and like it's all done. And he was stoned, man. This guy was like ousted from the community. People were like, get out of here. And it was rough. It was rough. This guy was taking a lot of heat for right after this and up until it. And even a couple weeks before, it was kind of bubbling back up and took a lot of heat for this. And it's just so weird to see now this story officially breaking. It was partly with the Liberation Times was breaking this. And now George Knapp coming out with Bigelow, who was the original source to break the story that he spoke with Trump. And man, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I would love to hear some comments on how people feel about that. I feel bad for a young researcher who is probably, I mean, he's not young, but I'm saying an independent researcher who's kind of doing his own thing, maybe on the grind a little bit, even in another country. I thought it was weird. I didn't believe any of it, to be honest. But just because someone in the UK that has an inside source in DC that, you know, with the inside track in Trump, and he's been in the UFO topic, making films and documentaries, it didn't line up, I think, with something that was credible in my eyes of someone who was bringing that deep of information. And so maybe Bigelow was like, I don't want, you know, maybe it leaked to a couple of researchers, and he just wanted to deny it until he could tell the story. So that would make a little bit of sense, where Bigelow just wanted to tell the story himself. He had, you know, this podcast planned out. He's not going to let some other researchers scoop that story when he might not have the full picture of what really happened. And Bigelow would be able to present this, and really the best journalist that I think he would go with, who was a journalist on OSAP, was George Knapp. So breaking that through, you know, his platform makes sense. It just was a rough way. It's a rough way to send the guy off, you know, because essentially he was right. He had the framework of what happened right with Bigelow meeting with Trump, and he suggested a statement speech. But I think the part where it was determined that Trump was actually going to make the speech on a certain date is probably where he went wrong, and where really everybody goes wrong when it comes to predictions. So let me bring the Bigelow interview back up, and then we can finish it as well.
Else. That's it. That's all. Because what this is disclosure, and it's actually confirmation.
A primary angle in Bigelow's proposal to the president was a preemptive pardon, amnesty for the private contractors who've helped the government hide the truth for 80 years. Bigelow says he has direct knowledge of aerospace companies which have stashed and analyzed materials and craft of unknown origin. Their expertise will be vital in educating and reassuring the public, he says.
And if it's handled right, it can be done successfully.
If you were president, would you announce that, yes, we've got crash retrievals, yes, we have reverse engineering programs, and yes, we've got bodies?
Yeah, because the rest of the world already knows that. The people that count in Russia and China already know.
In the months since their February meeting, the White House has authorized an ongoing release of UFO files and videos, some of which were already in the public arena, with promises of more releases in the months ahead. Bigelow isn't the only Trump whisperer interested in the subject.
And I think there's a stigma associated with this.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio was one of the most vocal members of Congress urging UFO transparency back when he was a senator. Donald Trump Jr. has raised the subject with his dad. Vice President J.D. Vance says he's fascinated too, but thinks UFOs might be demons. Bigelow won't say whether he made a dent in Trump's opinion about UFOs and ETs. The president's previous comments have been largely non-committal, although he has authorized the release of government files. The strongest part of the pitch might have been Bigelow's suggestion that UFO disclosure would cement Trump's place in history.
The world goes so fast, but the president that took on the challenge of disclosure and of confirmation and actually built a satisfactory conclusion of a relationship between human beings and that subject is going to go down in history as having really accomplished something.
I like his pitch. I think he probably made a really good pitch to Trump, and was in a unique position to donate into being able to get that time with him. And one of the interesting things was that he didn't bring up OSAP purposely because of, I hate the word, but the woo-woo factor that would probably stigmatize the topic to Trump. And I think if he were making this presentation to another president, this might be a completely different pitch. And that's what I think I like about what Bigelow did, was he catered it to Trump, and the part about, you can cement your legacy and you could be the president. I think that is appealing to me, like getting notoriety, becoming part of history, having your name as like something that was incredibly successful, but also a little bit controversial, like him doing this, I think that appeals directly to it. So whether or not it was going to be enough, I just don't know. And it might be the case where he's sort of being bombarded about this topic, and that might be hurting it. If he's getting speeches from Trump or speeches from Greer, and these people are trying to get his ear, and everybody's like chiming in, and nobody's really bringing any evidence. It might be the case where he's just not paying that much attention to it. So I think, the process with David Grush, how this plays out with the position, I guess Lou Elizondo is going to take. But and another person that I think has his ear is Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was brought in to the topic like less than a month ago, and he's in the spiritual council that Trump just started. I think he's the head of the spiritual council in which Trump just started, and he's all in. He's like totally invested in the topic now, Dr. Phil is. So, we've got these avenues to get the ear of the president, but, that being said, it was about 4 months ago in which this took place, and there hasn't really been any statement or speeches, especially what he's said already. It's kind of like, let's see what you find. If you find anything, we'll leave it up to that, instead of, it seems to be discovering and then revealing information. And there's been other statements that the president isn't even read in. Tim Burchett has referenced that a lot, and the fact that he's just not even read in. So I think that might be a motivating factor for Trump, where he's not read in and he's motivated. It's the age-old thing with presidents. The presidents find out they're not in on everything, and they get motivated to, and that probably distances themselves even further away, because they're like, they're trying to get, now that he's tipped off to him not being knowledgeable of some of these programs, these SAPs, whatever, back engineered technology, even independent contracts with private companies that have this. That's what Bigelow was saying. And he was in a position to be in a private company. So an aerospace company that would have bumped up, I feel like, against some of this stuff if it were real. So we'll see how it plays out. It will be interesting how Bigelow comes out with his new podcast now, what he actually does with the podcast, to see if it's going to be more active, or having guests on, or going into and bringing some people that were involved in OSAP, stuff like that. But let me bring out let me see, the Gatekeepers. Yeah, he mentions the Gatekeepers a lot in this interview, and I just want to play this clip about what he says he directs Trump to pay attention to, which are the quote unquote gatekeepers.
The gatekeepers. So this disclosure is a process, and I was emphasizing that the disclosure process, starting with confirmation, is a big deal. That really is important for somebody like the President of the United States to say, yeah, they're real, they're here, and eliminate all the other nonsense, all the noise that's been going on for 80 years. And so I wanted him to focus on gatekeepers. And I emphasize these people because they're the ones that are in government locations and private corporation locations that have spent their substantial lives or careers working in very secluded environments. And they have custody of
the goods,
more information than they are diamonds in a coal mine. They have obtained information about ET themselves, about hardware. Other countries are working on this exact same thing. So you have to be careful not to talk about things that would give other people advantages and so on. And the gatekeepers, I've told people that they're heroes of a different kind. A lot of people would laugh at that, but it's true. It's true. They go to their graves taking information that their spouses have never heard, their children have never heard. They can't talk about it to any friend. So they're isolated about that. And after a while, I think that must be a burden, to hold those kinds of secrets.
The gatekeepers are a hero of a different kind. That's a crazy statement. I guess what he's saying is they're national patriots, like they're not going to reveal the secrets that they were brought in to keep for their country, which, you can understand that aspect of it. But I think that, having the gatekeepers be the ones that we never get to find out who they are. And even I think that they were mentioned a few times by George Knapp. See, George Knapp was talking about this and mentioning this. So I don't know how many gatekeepers there would be that could actually be called in front and called to Congress. And but he gave the advice to Trump to try and get, because, again, the appealing part is Trump, you're not being told the truth. You're not in on this. So you're outside of all of this. All right, I want to get into a new interview that dropped with Jesse Michels. So he just had a recent interview with Dylan Borland, who came on, and just wanted to play a few clips from there and, go over a little bit of the discussion. So here I think is his preview or kind of like startup clip where he shows a lot of the stuff that the episode is going to be on. So take a look here.
Take me back to Langley Air Force Base 2012. What exactly did you see?
Outside smoking a cigarette on the phone, BSing, and I see a light pop up near the NASA hangar. And the light starts to fly to me across the base, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around it.
How fast did it move?
Between 100 feet off the ground approximately to at minimum 30,000 commercial jet elevation, 2 to 3 seconds. My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force.
So you experienced this, and then what happens next?
So I was working at BAE, and somebody who worked for the government, they heard about me talking about the triangle, and they thought I was read into the program because they were. That's when I came into knowledge about a very specific program. I am sure there are crafts that were not made by humanity at this current time and place when we recovered them.
Have you ever talked to anybody who seems to have hinted that humans aren't in charge?
The ICIG did it.
Well, the Intelligence Community Inspector General told you that humans are not in charge.
They extremely hinted at it, yes.
Holy shit.
Whistleblowers going to the ICIG, if they disclose CIA secrets and Department of Energy secrets, they are not allowed to be prosecuted for espionage, which is a death penalty.
How could you ever, say that somebody's committing treason for drawing a hieroglyphic while simultaneously saying that the whole UFO program is fake?
A non-human intelligence pyramid power source.
I've been read into so much stuff, I don't even know what I was read into. They said I have PTSD for a job that they're claiming I never did. I get hooked up to this polygraph machine, and there's a computer where they're flashing images and air horns. I have to count backwards from 100 by 7. And if I went 100, 93, 86, instead of saying 79, 78, the air horn would go off, and I would have to restart, and they would restart the flashing images.
What?
Dude.
Take me back to Langley.
Yeah, that last story is pretty wild. He's like, what? All right, so I just full up front. I am not big on the Dylan Borland story. I'm not big, and here's a reason why. I'll go to another thing. Is just right off the bat, the shirt that he's wearing. There was a clip where, actually, I'll bring it up. Let me bring up the clip first. So there was a clip of Corbell and Borland. It was shown in the preview a little bit. For the Jesse Michels episode, but this was a UFO festival where it was revealed the program Rubik's Cube. So I'll just take a look at this footage here.
I was told by an ODNI agent that Dylan testified to ICIG, the police of the intelligence agencies, that there is a UFO program, and it's called Rubik's Cube. That's what he said. That's what I heard from the ODNI. I was told.
All right, so he was squirming quite a bit there when it was revealed the Rubik's Cube program. Okay, and this ties back to revealing classified information or going to jail. Okay, so fast forward to the Jesse Michels episode, and he's wearing a Rubik's Cube shirt. Like, oh, yo, own it, bro. Like, go for it. Make the merch, make everything, but don't sit here and tell me that you were in complete agony a couple months ago because the supposed secret program was revealed and you might go to jail and stuff might happen. And then you're on the Jesse Michels podcast, like putting it right on the shirt. You're like flaunting it on the shirt. Like, I was part of this I knew about Rubik's Cube secret UFO program. Like, it's just so weird to me that months ago, this was some super top secret immaculate constellation thing. And now he's just got merch or something. And now he's like wearing Rubik's Cube shirt. Like it's his brand now. Like, this your brand. That's a brand. We're going to go with this. We're going to start making shirts already after zero evidence of even confirmed any of this. So I don't know, man. I made a post that's basically like, this is why I don't really take some of these whistleblowers seriously. And everybody, he's a great guy. He's, he might be the greatest friend in the world. He might be the greatest dude in the world. These guys, I don't question the character of the whistleblowers. These guys, I'm not questioning their character. I don't think they're purposefully lying. I just don't think they are part of official disclosure of information and knowledge. Let's just go to Borland's case. He saw a black triangle at a base and it just shot off, whatever. Then he's discussing it with colleagues. His colleagues start discussing a classified UFO program. Then people approach him, start talking about a classified UFO program because they think he's in the program because he talked about this black triangle that they saw. Then they bring him in to all this stuff, and he's just secretly got all of this information. So it's just some random guy smoking a cigarette, part of any program. It's not like he had specialty skills. It's not like he was like a physicist, mechanical engineer, like the top of his class. This wasn't a case where his skills and knowledge were so specifically important to the UFO back engineering and alien material analysis that they had to bring him into he talked about it with some colleagues that he saw a UFO and then was brought into you know what that honestly sounds like to me? It sounds like some Yankee Blue being psyops, man. Like, they're like, oh man, this guy's talking about UFOs. Like, we don't want him to go into the real program. So we're going to tell him this other stuff that gets him off on another track. I mean, look, I'm not saying that's what happened. That seems more likely than, oh, this guy's talking about the black triangle. Like, let's bring him into the classified program. Like, I don't even think it works like that. There's no way it works like that. Oh, this guy was talking about it at lunch. Let's bring him into the program. Let's like read him in. It just doesn't seem likely to me that that's the case. But this is, and this is the whistleblower that is the voice of whistleblowers right now. This is I think that's the most frustrating part is, where are the 40 first-hand whistleblowers that actually saw stuff, that can bring out the evidence, that knows where it is? He's being asked, where are they're in some bases around the country. I'm sure the spaceships are around the hangars or somewhere. That shit ain't good enough. Oh yeah, I know that they exist. I know for sure that that ain't good enough. If you want to be a whistleblower, that's like a C-list whistleblower. Like, oh man, I know they exist. I just can't tell you. That's not helpful anymore. That's like hurtful. That hurts the credibility to me. if you're strictly, and then it makes, you know what it's frustrating to do? It makes it all about, do you believe this guy? So it's a back and forth. Nobody's right. Nobody has the evidence to determine whether he's right or not. So it becomes a belief thing. My belief that this is not the correct account of the disclosure is just as wrong. That's like, I believe Dylan. I believe him. I believe these guys. Well, I don't believe him. And I'm just as right as you are, because you're just believing the word with zero evidence of somebody that has never actually seen what they're talking about. And that's the most frustrating part, man, is now he went from saying these things 6 months ago to being on the biggest UFO podcast in the world, and there's zero evidence that's being showed. It's just stories. And he represents the whistleblowers of advising whistleblowers not to come in because he doesn't trust the people that doubted his story. Man, frustrating. I'm warming up for my crash out of my space tonight, so bear with me. And that's the bulk of why. Dylan Borland could be a great guy, be cool to hang out with, get beers or something, talk about the subject. But for me to try and take him as a credible UFO whistleblower and what he's saying as fact, I just don't. I'm not there. I need to see a lot stronger evidence and corroboration and different things like that. So whether or not we're going to get those, I hope so. But could be a while until we get some more information out. I'll play a couple of the clips. I'll give him some due here of playing some of the clips of what he was saying so that people can understand where he's coming from.
You're extremely.
I am sure there are crafts that were not made by humanity at this current time and place when we recovered them. That is no doubt. Where they come from, no idea. This is one of the things that people always attack this subject. They want to lump me in with quote unquote aliens and little grays and all that. That's not the truth. I've never said extraterrestrials exist. I've never said we have proof of extraterrestrials.
But non-human.
We have craft that were not made by humanity at the time we recovered them. Major difference.
I don't see a difference. Like, if it's a craft, it's physical, it comes from outer space, it's not human. Is it dolphin? It's extraterrestrial. That's an extraterrestrial. Now, whether or not, I guess he's saying there's a craft with no beings inside that was sent like a drone, like a reconnaissance drone. Okay. That I could see. Although I think it would be more defined away from Dylan Borland's story that this has been happening, that there have been craft recovered that have no beings inside them. They're just strictly mechanical, or maybe like Danny Sheehan said, they're part mechanical and they're part organic. They're a sentient craft in and itself, but that would be an extraterrestrial. Like, I feel like if we're talking about consciousness inside of the craft and the craft is going about and moving and it crashes, that to me is like, maybe the craft, there doesn't need to be an alien there for it to be extraterrestrial. I don't think so. I think if you get a craft and it's partly sentient and conscious and, it has its own consciousness, then it is that is an extraterrestrial to me. So just different maybe opinions on what it is, on what extraterrestrial means.
Blue documents. So when were the Kona Blue documents made originally, not the class? What was that, 10 years ago?
2000, and I thought it was earlier than that.
Okay, that makes it even better.
Yeah.
Okay, so hypothetically, back to Kona Blue and remote viewing and all this stuff. In those documents, the United States government is admitting they have the capability to give you false memories, mess with your brain, make you do things. And that's without drugs. They're saying the capability is now presently available, not just for the US, but for others. And I hate to break it to people, technology that we're all using in the public sector, that's been done years ago in the IC, DARPA, IARPA, the rest of them. One of the things, again, that I'm trying to figure out is if you have an experience, and this goes back to discernment and back to consciousness. Well, hypothetically, if the CIA is able to manipulate your brain while you're sleeping and play with your brain, how do you know it's the CIA and not an NHI? And oh, by the way, Russia and China are now able to do it. And oh, by the way, this was a private company. How do you go and unpack that?
Yeah, it's an extremely complicated topic because you have...
Again, man, I have trouble understanding where he's going with this, where he goes with a lot of his things, where they're hypotheticals, but he's in a roundabout way answering the question. Like, what if we had the technology to zap your brain, but what if it was NHI? And what if I'm already confused. I'm already confused where you're going. And I think that it's just the most frustrating thing for him to come on and say these things in a 3-hour podcast with Jesse Michels and speculate and sort of what if on 100 different things. And on the other side, we've got Trump saying, I'm going to waive your NDA so you can tell us the truth and tell everything. And these guys are like, nah, I'd rather not, and go on Jesse Michels instead. That's what it feels like. Perception is reality in this case. Like, if the whistleblowers are resisting going into Congress and then they turn around and do a 3-hour podcast, and then on the podcast they're like, I'm not getting the opportunity to say what I want and I don't feel comfortable going in. You're on the podcast just spewing it all out anyway. I don't understand what, even the statement of, oh, well, those guys have already gone and done it. Well, do it again. Go back. Make it a point of emphasis to be like, yo, you guys didn't pay attention the first time. You guys need to pay the hell attention now. And to go back and make it like, I keep saying the lack of urgency. It just feels like the lack of, I feel like I care more about some of this stuff. And I'm trying to press the issue than some of it. I mean, I'm not calling up Congress, but it just feels like there's more care and urgency from going forward in the process from the people that are involved in the process currently. That's all it feels like. All right, let's play one more clip here. Let's see what we got.
I am sure these things exist. And during my whistleblower through Arrow and the IG and Congress, like I said in Weaponized, when people ask a question, when you understand why they're asking a question after you make a statement, but I believe Dave, I trust Dave. I know what I know what I've been told, I know what I testified to, and I know what came back as was confirmed. I know what Arrow and hypothetically the IG have told me directly in skiffs. It absolutely exists. There's no doubt in my mind. None at all.
And you're sure we have craft and hangars all over the country?
I don't know about all over the country. I'm sure we have craft.
Yeah.
I'm sure they exist in a hangar somewhere or underground, wherever they're at, but we have craft.
But you know that they're not just these aerial objects that are ephemeral, that we don't understand. You know that we have been studying them on the ground in isolated conditions.
I'm sure of it. But again, this gets into the fun stuff we were talking about, hypotheses.
Yeah.
But
that's not really a hypothesis. You're extremely...
I am sure there are crafts that were not made by humanity at this current time and place when we recovered them. That is no doubt. Where they come from, no idea. This is one of the things that people always attack this subject. They want to lump me in with quote unquote.
I mean, he asked the follow-up that was good from Jesse, but it's just like, how do you know for sure? You haven't seen them firsthand. And so it's such a tough case, really. And so if you're on either side of it, I understand where you are. A lot of the newer whistleblowers have been getting a lot of attention lately. These guys have started up the Vanguard whistleblower support organization. So we'll see how it all shapes out. But the last few weeks, we're kind of getting to the tail end of the 60 to 90 days that David Grush talked about. One of the things I bet David Grush did not foresee was this thing going on with UAP Gerb and Elizondo. And so I wonder now if some of the stuff being set up, proposed by Grush, has not happened yet in his eyes. So if 60 to 90 days ago, his assumption was that he's going to be put in this position and different things are going to happen, and they haven't gone exactly as planned, then that we could not be in where we had expected to, or the disclosure group themselves. So will be interesting that, usually there's a big start, there's a big bang in the beginning that gets a lot of attention, and then kind of just goes through the lull and the ups and downs, and then at the end there's another jolt into the topic. So it will be interesting to see if at the end here there's a push to kind of go to around about this 60 to 90 days that David Grush was talking about. But should be an interesting rest of the year. Will be interesting to see how Bigelow shapes out with his podcast, and George Knapp, and how that develops, if they're going to have any guests on, if they get more active. It was the first time that Bigelow has been active in the topic for quite some time. He's been on his Bigelow Institute of Consciousness Studies, his consciousness organization, but hasn't really been involved. So, we'll see if he gets back involved. Should be interesting. We also had the UFO debates recently. That was really fun to do. Part 2. Desmo came out again on top. I'm gonna have Desmo on for a live stream or a show here soon. Want to get his thoughts on how that all developed. We kind of tried to hit him with the curveball of having somebody, an account come on with two guys that sort of argued at the two guys that were debating from one account. So hit him with like different thoughts. So I thought that was cool. He handled it and was able to power through and get it to the championship and take it home versus Patrick from Vetted. So that was cool. I like that. And hopefully we can do a lot more. Shout out to Probe for putting it all together again on his website, probe.space. And I'm going to do a show going through Probe's website, because I think it's valuable. I might start referencing some of the things on his website for what I'm showing when I review clips, because he's got a great section where you can just go to, for example, the top story with Bigelow. You can go and see different clips and people covering it, and it's all right there, kind of concise. So you can search all that. All right. Appreciate everybody coming by. I've got a goal to hit like 1,000 subscribers. That's my next goal that I'm going for. So go ahead and hit that hit that subscribe button, and got a lot more material coming up soon. Looking forward to it. Have a great one. Peace, guys.